So go ahead, please.
Will you what is it? Show the background of your with your
Oh,
students
okay.
again. Sorry.
My background, the students.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
So we
right.
can have a look. Your
Okay,
students joining.
okay. Come. We show
You
them.
would like to make a photo.
Oh, we want to make a photo there. Okay, go. Come closer. Rapat.
Yeah.
Kalau di sini rapat artinya dekat. Kalau rapat di Indonesia maksudnya
Rapat in Indonesia is meeting, ya.
meeting, betul. But bukan.
Oke, Prof. Rifani. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Sudah difoto.
Yang di belakang sana itu Dr. Ali Maksum dari Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta itu yang di belakang. Jadi di Jogja juga ada itu. Yang di belakang itu.
Oh ya.
Dr. Ali Maksum. Dulunya,
Assalamualaikum semuanya.
ya.
Terima kasih sudah join. Ya.
No. And Dr. Ali last time was from Universitas Hang Tuah, Surabaya juga.
Oh ya,
Jadi kalau di Malaysia, we are still debating whether Hang Tuah exists or not. In Indonesia, there is University Hang Tuah, Universitas Hang Tuah, right there. So he's a graduate of Universitas Hang Tuah, also a graduate of Sempris USM. So he's sudah ada a lot of Scopus publications as well there.
Yeah, so that's good to have many students from different universities.
Different universities, indeed, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, shall we start with the presentation, if I may?
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
All right, thank you, Bu Lindy. Dr. Ali Maksum is here as a visiting scholar. So anyone, if Ibu Lindy or any of your friends, lecturers, dosen-dosen mau datang ke sini as a visiting scholar, visiting lecturer, monggo, silakan.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Monggo silakan dalam bahasa Jawa. Atau mangga Sunda. Right, the title I've given for our presentation today is Leading from the Golden Heart. CSR approach, ICSR approach. ICSR stands for Islamic Corporate Social Responsibility, Islamic Corporate Social Responsibility approach to Islamic leadership in organizational transformation. So I've been talking about organization transformation, but the idea of golden heart is the essence of my presentation today. If you can see there's a big mountain at the back. I think our friends from Iraq and Jordan might know where, what mountain this is, right? Okay, don't tell them yet. Siapa tahu?
No, I don't know.
Okay. We will know. We'll come back to this mountain later on. A hint. This is where the Hidayah first came. Okay. First, the next slide. Our discussion points today, I'm dividing our presentation, our discussion into three parts. The first, overview of Islamic CSR 7-pillar approach to Islamic leadership. But since there are 7 pillars, I won't be talking about all the 7 pillars. Otherwise, we'll be staying here up to 9 o'clock, just like you all last night. Right? So I'll be focusing only on 2 pillars. But is it just 2 pillars? We have another bonus at the end, which is 1 pillar. So hopefully we will come to the bonus pillar, right? Otherwise, I won't have time. And the final pillar is the Nusantara success story. Right? For those of you who do not know where Nusantara is the old, the civilizational space of Southeast Asia before there was Southeast Asia. Right? So in Arab, before there were Saudi, Iraq, not Iran is Persia. This whole space is
same
Arab
one
world.
nation.
One nation, right?
Yes.
So last time we have this one nation called
One nation.
Nusantara.
One nation between Indonesia, Malaysia,
Brunei,
okay.
Singapore is called Nusantara.
Population.
Because of colonization, right? Yeah, the crooks came there. That's what happened. Yeah, that's why we have the film Makilau there. Okay. And the final one is the final pillar. I will share some Nusantara success stories about this Islamic leadership as well. So we go to the next slide. The presentation will be delving into today is coming from this book, the 7 Prinsip Transformasi Organisasi, Islamic CSR, the 7 Principles of Organizational Transformation. So it is an approach to talk about CSR and to talk about leadership from a faith-based perspective. A lot of the literature on CSR, on leadership, generally speaking, the Western literature especially, lack that part of the analysis, which is faith perspective of CSR, faith perspective of leadership. So we'll be talking about a different kind of framing. Jadi bingkainya adalah bingkai berbasis kepercayaan, berbasis keimanan, ya, based on that faith, right? And so it means that ada kiblatnya, there's the direction. So we'll be talking from that perspective, from that framework. The next slide, please. So there are seven pillars, right? That I covered. But this book, as you can see there, is co-authored together with 2 other writers. The first cite myself is Dr. Muhammad Muzakir, who is now a lecturer in UNESA, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, right? He was a student here. I was a supervisor, and now he has graduated. He has completed his PhD. Is now back in Surabaya. And the other one is Associate Professor Dr. Elisha, who is also my wife. So we co-authored this book. So we go to the 7 principles. I'll give an overview of the 7 principles or the 7 pillars. Right? The first and foremost, the most important of all, is the niyat. It's the same word as in Arabic, niyat, intention. Niyat. My pronunciation is right. Niyat, yeah, okay. So the first one is the ethical intention, the niat yang beretika. Yeah, first. The second is the khalifah stewardship. I'm not talking about khilafah or ISIS or that kind of thing. I'm talking about khalifah stewardship, the penaungan khalifah. So talking about the stewardship, the idea of stewardship in Islamic leadership. The third is the truthfulness and trustworthiness, kejujuran dan amanah. That's the third pillar. The fourth pillar is halalan thayyiban. And as I will note later, in the Quran, halal is never separated from tayyib, right? It's always conveyed in unison. It's a unified concept. So that's the fourth, not just halal, but also tayyib, not just permitted, permissible, but also wholesome, right? Number 5 is fairness, just or keadilan. Number 6 is authenticity and credibility, autentisitas dan kredibilitas. Ini dalam bahasa Malaysia belum kita pernah dengar ya gitu kan. Tapi ini sudah bagusnya bahasa Indonesia itu diserap semua bahasa-bahasa Inggris langsung dijadikan bahasa Indonesia. Very smart, very good. Dan yang ketujuh, the 7 is giving and reciprocity. Dharma dan membalas budi, membalas jasa dan sebagainya. So these are the 7 principles of Islamic corporate social responsibility. Yeah? So I'm using the CSR, the Islamic CSR, to frame the idea of Islamic leadership. Right? So, but we'll be focusing on 3 aspects, and that is number 1, ethical intention. Number 2, the Khalifah stewardship, and the bonus one will be halalan thayyiban. We'll go to the first one. Okay. The first one is niat, intention. So the idea is all actions must be preceded with a niat. Yeah? Before we take any action, especially in organizational action, there's an intention, right? And what we want to talk about right now is to turn that intention to focus on ethical intention and make it the corporate mission, right? Make it the mission of the organization. So we want to build a mission for the organization based on ethical intention, based on the niat the niat yang mulia, niat yang murni, niat yang suci. right? The ethical intention, and building a mission of transformation to be good and great. This is the framing of the first pillar, right? Jadi dari niat dibangunkan misi buat organisasi, dan misi transformasi menjadikan toib dan unggul. Not just toib tetapi unggul. Not just good but also great, right? Seperti UMIA, what's the slogan, Ali? Unggul,
Yeah, unggul dan Islami.
Unggul dan Islami, yeah. So it's kind of similar, right? Kind of similar that unggul dan Islami, right? Bukan mendunia. Oh, mendunia is UMM, ya. Muda mendunia. Muda it is UMM, right? So the idea is to get back to the niat. Let's go deeper. Let's dive deeper. Let's go and understand this idea much deeper, right? To the next slide, please. Thank you, Nusa. So the idea is to start with the golden heart, with God and good intentions in your heart. So all actions must be anchored, originated, must be born out of this golden heart, right? Niat mulai dengan berhati emas dengan Tuhan dan niat murni yang ikhlas di hati. So we want to start with that, with God, and good intentions in your heart. And in Islam, all actions must be preceded by good intention, because if actions is preceded by bad intention, right? Even though the actions are good, right? If the intention is negative, it might not be counted as good deed, right? So, for example, we go to the masjid. The intention is to show off, right? The intention to show that we are wara, right? Wara is it Arabic word? No, yes. Wara.
Wara?
Pious.
But yes.
Yes.
I mean, show off, like
Let's show off like an abid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm creating Arabic words right now.
Riya. You mean riya?
Riya, maybe riya. Yeah, show off. Okay,
Yes.
riya. So if the niyat is riya, right? I think riya we can understand.
Yes. This is negatively.
Negative, right? So the salat doesn't count, right?
You're right.
If you give something that's good, but your niyat is riya, takbur, wujud, hidam, semua that, right? All the bad things that Imam Ghazali talks about, right? Then the whole actions become bad. So the intention is actually very important. So likewise, the idea of Islamic leadership must be anchored, must be originated from a good ethical intention, a good niyat, a good mission.
Near to God.
Yeah? To Allah, God and good intentions in your heart.
Yes.
That is the principle of golden heart. And this intention, this ethical intention, is to be conveyed and communicated to the customers, to the investors, to community, to employees. You want to say that the existence of my organization, yeah, hadirnya saya di sini, hadirnya organisasinya di sini. Hadir is an Arabic word. Yes, hadir. Hadir. No. Okay. So I'm learning many languages at the same time. Yeah. Right. So the new mission will help the organization in organizational repurposing, in organization rebranding, in the organization transformation, because we are going back to ask, why are we here? Let's go to the next slide. So it's about rebranding. Now, if I were to ask you, anyone knows what this mountain is about, right? What's the name of this mountain? Jabanur, yeah. Jabanur.
Yes.
Yes.
Jabal Nur.
Yeah, Jabanur.
Yes.
This is where the
Mecca.
cave of Hira. What Hira? No, Mecca. This is where Iqra, the first
The first
ayat. Iqra. Uhud.
Jabal Ahmad in Makkah.
No, this is in the mountain where Prophet Muhammad received the hidayah, right?
Yes.
Uhud, yeah. Okay, mountain Uhud, yeah. This is Jabal Nur. So the idea is to re-establish the mission, to re-establish the niyat, right? So you begin with the golden heart, with God and good intentions in your heart, at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. So the idea of Islamic leadership is to always check your intention. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Am I having the good intention? Because all my deeds will be counted if my intention is right. If I stray away from God, a good intention from my heart, I'm straying away from God and good intention. I'm straying away from the hidayah, from the barakah, barakah,
Yes. Provide.
barakah of God, right? Not barakah,
Barakah plus.
Plus,
Yes, barakah.
barakah. Okay. Itu barakah. Jadi bermula dengan hati yang murni, dengan Tuhan ilahi dan niat yang suci di hati. Dari permulaan hingga pertengahan jalan dan hinggalah sampai tujuan kita. So it all begins and ends with the heart, with the golden heart. It all, and that's where that's the part that's most important when we talk about Islamic leadership. Is the golden heart, is the heart inside us, is the heart underneath, underlying our actions. Right? Shall we go to the next slide? Okay. So the first principle is the principle of ethical intention. And all actions begin with and be evaluated, be accounted by the niyat that one person has, right? So the compass must be right? The compass, the inner compass, not the outer compass, right? Not the Google map, kind of compass. The compass inside here, so we need to know that, right? So this is the first pillar. Let's go even deeper inside it. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when we talk about CSR, corporate social responsibility, generally the practices is externally focused, right? We look outward, right? It lacks the internal focus, the inner compass. We often talk about giving money to the poor, helping the orphans, the homeless, reaching out, always about reaching out. So it's not anchored to the core of the organization or the institution. So CSR that has been practiced and often defined is about reaching out, which is fine. But the important part of CSR is the inside. So CSR is often linked to the organization, is often not linked to the organization raison d'etre, which means reason for being. The most important stakeholders in the corporate world is still and often is the stakeholders. So we go to the corporate world, we go to the organization, we talk about the shareholders, stakeholders, shareholders, stakeholders. But in Islam, the most important partner is God. The most important partner is God, right? And there's in Islamic teaching is whoever that trades, whoever that have transactions with God will never lose. Kita akan selalu tidak akan rugi siapa yang berdagang dengan Allah. So our first partner is God, and that is often neglected, taken for granted, forgotten from the idea of corporate social responsibility. But that is the essence of CSR, which in the framing of Islamic leadership is the same. The reason is always God is our number one partner. God is our number one partner, right? So always having that intention. So reaching out is important, but going inside the heart, asking us the question, why am I doing this? What is our mission of having this organization is even more important. Let's go to the next slide. I know it sounds abstract, but I'll bring it to something that's more practical and relatable perhaps later on. So when we talk about the principle of ethical intention, it's about ethical rationality, the reason, the purpose, the ethical repurposing, to do the right thing for the right reasons, and to check the intention underlying the business existence, the organizational existence. So that is what we talk about ethical leadership in businesses and organization. Must ask this question: why is your organization or your business here? What is the purpose of your organization or business? Why is your business organization? What is your business and organization about? Right. So niyat in the Arabic or bahasa, right, is a concept referring to the intention that one invokes in one's heart to do an act for the sake of God or otherwise. So in Islam, niyat must precede an act. As an act without a niyat may not be counted as a good act, right? So there's a hadith Bukhari or Muslim underneath there that talks about hijrah, right? And anyone hijrah for whatever reason, you get that, but you get only that. But if hijrah because of God, that's the right intention to have, right? Emigrate, right? So here is the anchor of the organization of Islamic leadership. Shall we go to the next one? So now, this might sound very abstract. We're going to ask the question: how can the business or organization provide ethical leadership? The answer is one very powerful answer is to rectify the sins, the mistakes of the industry. We ask the question: I'm just selling handicrafts, right? I'm just selling face masks, whatever, right? But how do I do ethical leadership, right? How do I carry out Islamic CSR, right? I'm just selling bags, right? How do we do that? Right? Where's my bag? Because I want to show an example. Nanti bagus sana because there's an example. Thank you. So the idea is to look at the problems of the industry. Oh, thank you. This is my beautiful bag. Thank you. I'll talk about this bag later on. To look at the problems of the industry, to look at the problems of the business environment and ask, what's the problem? What's the sins? What's the mistake of my industry? What's the mistake of my society? And how can I deliver solutions that are ethical? That is strategic ethical purpose. I'll give some good examples here, right? So let's go back to the mountain where we can get not go back, go down. So what is the mission of the organization? How are you leading from the golden heart? That's the next slide. Thank you, Isa, you're doing well. Now examples. Now, providing CSR leadership through industrial rectification. Rectification means to correct past mistakes, right? The key questions: what's wrong? What are the sins, quote unquote, or not, quote unquote, right? With your industry, with your business, with the society. How do I apply CSR leadership to rectify, to make good, right, these mistakes, these weaknesses? Example right now, cosmetic industry. What's the problem with cosmetic industry? One of it is they are cruel to animals. Animal testing, right? Animal testing. So the mascara thing, right? They test on monkeys and rabbits. Yeah, lupa pula arnab. Arnab in Indonesia is not arnab. Kelinci, betul. Right. Sinetron. Oh, dia sinetron. Okay. They test maybe if 7 monkeys out of 10 monkeys do not go blind, or we cannot use this mascara. Mascara for the men here is this thing they put on their eyes. Right.
Yes.
Oh, is it here? Yeah. Was it? Mascara, yeah.
Mascara.
Okay. So if they take chemo testing, they say there's 7 out of 10 monkeys go blind, so we don't launch this product. Maybe only 2 monkeys get blind, right? Or 2 rabbits get blind, then we can use this mascara. But in the process, there are hundreds of rabbits and monkeys get
So the monkeys is victims.
Monkeys are victims, and there are unethical practices in the cosmetic world. In order for us to be beautiful with our eyelashes, we harm monkeys like that. But somebody discovered that this is a sin, right? So that person discovered this and created a chain. Who is this person? Her name is Anita Rode. She created the Body Shop chain. Body Shop. So Body Shop is free of animal testing, free of chemicals. And it is a type of CSR leadership that transformed the industry. It sends a signal to the industry that, look, we have committed sins in the past. We must rectify the sins. It shames a lot of other organizations, a lot of other industry and companies, including all those names up there, right? So what it means is, what happens after that, a lot of these cosmetic industries become embarrassed, right? That all this while they are abusing animals, they develop ethical products, animal testing free product as well. So this is why we talk about the mission just now, the niat just now, where the niat, the ethical niat, the ethical mission can become a transformative power in the industry to solve problems in the society, right? So likewise, chemicals, sorry, not chemicals, plastics, plastics. One of the problems in this world, we talk about plastics. So the chemical company has come up with biodegradable polymer materials that can compost in just 3 months, for instance. So likewise, there are other problems in the industry, other problems in the society that we can solve by using their ethical intention, making it strategic, making it meaningful, making it beneficial to help the society. So it all comes back to the niyat. But the niyat becomes a strategic ethical mission that rebrands the organization, that repurposes the organization, that transforms the organization, communicating to the customer, communicating to the investors, communicating to the community, communicating to the employees that this is what we are about, right? And that gives meaning, right, to what the organization is about, and that is leadership. Otherwise, it's not leadership; it's followership. Yeah? We are not leading; we are following and following back examples, right? This is an example. Let's go to a closer example to Indonesia. Not Indonesia. Let's go to Africa first. Yeah. Now maybe some of you have watched this movie called Blood Diamond. Brad Pitt, I think Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio. One of those, I forgot which one. Leonardo. Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio. Yes. There's Honzu something, right? It's about diamonds. So this movie exposes how diamonds that people value so much have blood on it, because they abuse children, child labor, people die under the abusive exploitation of the diamond industry in Africa, right? The same goes with chocolates, right? A lot of chocolate producing communities don't even know how chocolate tastes, right? We have a lot of chocolates here, I know that. That's why we are the number one in obesity in Southeast Asia, right? But in these countries, they get abused and they do not benefit from that exploitation. So they have come up with diamonds that are free of exploitation. Now that is leadership. That is following the Islamic leadership of having the golden heart. So Islamic leadership is not necessarily for Muslims alone. As I said, Anita Roddick just now, she's not a Muslim. I don't know whether you converted Muslim now, that's a different story. But the practices, right, are very, very Islamic, right? So let me go to some place that's closer to all of us. That's Tangerang. Tangerang, in Malaysia we have the four fingers, right? Four fingers, right? In Indonesia we have the Finger Talk Cafe. Finger Talk Cafe is led by this lady, Disa Adanisia, right? Nisa juga tu, Nisa. She launched this restaurant for person with disability, and they speak using fingers, right? Not speaking, but using sign language. Using sign language. So you go to that restaurant, you will learn sign language. No one there will speak to you. I do not know now, but they employ people who can, and some of them have this disability, right? So,
for example, they're mute.
They're mute. So,
they cannot speak.
They cannot speak.
Okay.
So you say, yeah, my name is Rivani, something like that. Assalamualaikum.
Single. Yeah. Single finger.
Yeah. Sign language.
Sign language.
Not
yes,
single
mute.
finger.
Mute.
Don't want to show the wrong finger. So they mute. But what happened? It transforms the organization, transforms the industry. She receives award, right, to Obama, the drone president. right? Um, uh, she received international awards in Japan. She get award, and then she opened up space for person with disability. So this is the type of transformative leadership we are talking about. We look at how the persons with disability has been marginalized from the workforce, and we say, how can we solve this problem? Well, this is one way to solve the problem, and becomes an attraction, right? This is Tangerang. Tangerang is in Jawa Barat, east, no, West Java, right? Very close to Jakarta. So in Pamulang, by the way, anyone wants to go to visit, is in Jalan Pinang, right? So you can go and visit this place. This is an example. Let me bring you closer to where you are in Universitas Hayamuruk. Yeah, next slide. This is very close to you. By the way, this was one of my projects in Perbanas last time. At that time, Perbanas was still called STI Perbanas before Universitas Hayamuruk. This is a place, a setup, a company in Surabaya. It's called Tiara Handicraft. And Tiara Handicraft is where the person in charge, right, hire persons who are in the marginalized communities, including the persons with disabilities, the villagers that coming from out of the luar kota, not from the city, from the desa, yeah, from the villages, and then they use recycle kain cerca, leftover cloth, right? And they stitch together. So there's the idea of empowering person with disabilities, and hiring marginalized community, and recycling and upcycling. And the outcome is bags. And I bought this bag over there. Right. So this is Kain cerca, and it's a very strong bag. It's been more than 10 years I think I use this bag, right? And it's a good bag. And it's a guru, but this is the example, right? That I bought from there. So a bag that is produced, manufactured by persons with disabilities, and some of them are from the marginalized communities from outside of Surabaya, and hired, and they stay in this place, and they actually have dorms, they have hostels there, they can sleep there too, and the machines, and it's marketed, and they recycle materials. So integrating different problems, solving many problems at the same time, using this approach, right? And that is an example of Islamic CSR, Islamic corporate social responsibility. And that is the type of leadership that we want to see being sparked into organization. It's like, we are not just sewing stuff together, but what is the meaning of what we are doing? How can we inject mission in what we are doing? Bagaimanakah kita memaknakan, meningkatkan makna, nilai, keistimewaan yang bersifat etika, right, in our organization. And this is, I thought, is powerful. It need not be, a big corporate Apple phone type thing. Something like this can be meaningful. And it is not a big setup, but it's a small house, right? There was students from Perbanas, from Universitas Hayamuruk, right, who brought me there, I did a little case study with them. This has been an example. So this is when we talk about turning the intention into a strategic ethical mission for the organization to be good and great, right? And great, the good is the toyi part, right? Great is the impact you have on whatever your environment is or the community is, right? So this is the example. So this is the first pillar, as I said, right? 2 pillars and the bonus of third pillar, right? The third pillar, Lisa, can we move to the next pillar? All right. The third pillar is principle of Khalifah stewardship. Again, I'm not talking about Khilafah, I'm not talking about ISIS, I'm not talking about anything that is outside of the mainstream Islamic thinking. We're talking about Khalifah, because we are said to be all Khalifah, we're all leaders, and each of us will be responsible for those who follow us, for the responsibility that is being entrusted to us. Dan kita semua ni khalifah, dan kita akan dipertanggungjawabkan dan akan ditanya tentang tanggungjawab kita gitu, right? So let's go into kita kupas lagi ya. The second pillar, principles, Khalifah stewardship. What does stewardship mean? It means the person who is taking charge, the person who is taking care of their world. How do we define this world? This is where CSR comes in, right? There are 4 types of responsibilities of the organization, and we, in the context of business, talking about CSR right now, there are 4 responsibilities, right? Community responsibility, environmental responsibility, workplace responsibility, and product responsibility. So honoring obligations and responsibilities, accountability towards the stakeholders, and we must ask the question, what are our responsibilities, what are our obligations to the community, to the environment, to the workplace, and to the product. I will go one by one. Right? Let's go to the product responsibility. The next slide there. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, chickens. All right, chicken. One of the marks, one of the trademarks of the new civilization that we're living in is chicken bones, right? That's the mark of the Anthropocene. We are living in this period called Anthropocene, where our existence is affecting how the world reacts, right? Chicken bones. So we breed a lot of chickens, ayam. But the way we treat our